something came up and I had to take care of it. Anyway, I'm back. I'm really back. So if you're around, yell, share this out so people know. Anyway, back to what I was talking about your physical body and your soul being connected, and how it Star Wars sort of explains it through the midichlorians. This is why I don't understand why people don't like the midichlorians. But then you think Hollywood, there are a lot of people who don't believe in God, who have a really weird view of spirituality. They do a lot of really like, let's burn sage, all the rest of that shit, astrology and everything. Howdy, man. I'm sorry I left so quick. Anyway, so I can see why they wouldn't care for that physical manifestation, literally, which is what the midichlorians are, to the Force inside of Anakin and any of the Jedi and any of the Sith. Okay, and it's really interesting to me. But we'll see where they go now with all the restructuring going on at Lucasfilm, and there is. I mean, Taika Waititi just basically blurted that out. When you've got the story group schlub basically saying in not so many words and not saying it directly that he's done, and saying Kathleen Kennedy is done, then, and it's really interesting to me. Star Wars, if anything, teaches you about hubris, teaches you about where bad acts actually lead you. And it's really fascinating to me when you watch the movies, episodes 1 through 3 especially, where you see people doing things that are wrong. In the book Darth Plagueis, what he's doing, trying to extend his life, is unnatural. Okay, that is not what he should be worried about or consumed with. And yet there he is trying to. But the Sith, you're right, Jeremy. But the Sith are full of hubris. And if you've got someone who's working on Star Wars, now Dave Filoni knows this, but you would think the people in the story group would too. But again, they're nihilists, okay? You can't be a hardcore leftist with BLM on your Twitter account, worried about your pronouns, and be someone who understands the bigger picture, okay? I know cafeteria Catholics who pick and choose what they like. They go to Mass, they even take part in communion, and they're basically either supporting or doing something that is repulsive, and they shouldn't go to communion. I mean, you're a Catholic and you go to communion in grave sin. No, don't do that, okay? That's wrong. You have to go to confession. But there are people out there that do that because they really don't believe in what that is. Okay? They hear the words of the Last Supper, and it just goes in through one ear, rattles around, goes up the other. They don't believe. They don't have any faith. Oh yeah, and you're right. So you've got people like that working in the story group who adhere to this idea that you could find a utopia on Earth, which is the lie that communism sells to everybody. And they're really not communists. I mean, if you make seven figures, you have your own apartment in San Francisco, you're not a communist. You're a fascist. You're not a communist. Okay? And that's the hypocrisy. More for me, not for thee. All right? An exalted view of themselves. Okay? And that's what Star Wars is about. It's about people like that doing things that harm not only the physical world, but the spiritual world to the point where they might feel like they can get away with things and do things that are wrong. But in the end, the hubris is going to get them. The karmic blowback is coming. And the karmic blowback for Plagueis was being killed by his apprentice, even though that was going to happen no matter what. The karmic blowback for Sidious, and Yoda told him, trust your new apprentice, do not. But the rule of two always states, when the time is right, the apprentice will kill the master and take over. Okay, that's the lineage, okay? And Vader, Anakin, replies to what Sidious not only did to the galaxy, but to him and his family in kind by throwing him into the reactor core of the Death Star. Okay? And, that, in my opinion, until, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni come up with a way to fix it, that's the end of it. All right? That is the end of it because it has to be. And that's the bottom line. All right? If we're going to do, Darth Vader's grandchildren, then you got to look to the EU and bring that up. Because here's the deal. Let's go into what the galaxy thought of Vader. Because Anakin, they didn't see the change. And even if they had been there watching Vader turn on the Emperor, they would have not seen Anakin Skywalker. They would have seen one Sith Lord killing another one. But in my opinion, and what I observed watching the movies, and my theory is, and I've said this before, so if you're new and you didn't hear this, I'm going to tell this again. And the Empire Strikes Back, when he says to Luke, no, I am your father, that is the point when you're aware that Anakin Skywalker really does exist. Because that's not Vader anymore. There's a fight going on between him and Vader, a struggle. Good morning, Dave. And it has been going on kind of since he found out that Luke existed. Okay? And when you say things out loud, then it's real and you got to confront it. Okay? It's the thing. Okay? This is what happens. And that's what happened. So, you've got Admiral Piet, the Falcon, jumps into hyperspace because R2-D2's basically fixed it and turned on the hyperdrive. And, Piet's like, shit, and he looks up and Vader just kind of looks at him and then walks away. All right. There's a reason also, you get to The Empire Strikes Back, where Vader and Moff Jerjerrod are talking and there was a deleted scene where Vader chokes him. they took that out for a reason. And the reason why they took it out is because at this point, he wouldn't do that anymore. He's not that, he's not Vader anymore. We think we see him in the uniform, we see him in the armor, the life support, but he's not that guy anymore, okay? When you hear Sidious say, now I sense you want to go look for your son, I think Sidious even kind of thinks that that's actually, he's talking to Anakin Skywalker, not Vader. You refer to him as Lord Vader, but okay. There's a huge change. And until just recently, I didn't realize how profound it was until I started watching the prequels and saw the change in Vader from the point where he says those words out loud, out there, they're there, to into Return of the Jedi. All right. It's very interesting to me, and it's good writing because the prequels are very consistent with the OT. They're very consistent. And it's very interesting how it kind of comes about and you see it and you're not aware of it until you're like, okay. So, but again, going back to the story group, you would think the story group being experts in Star Wars and in the Force and talking about it would be aware of, the ideas what you put out into the universe will come back at you. All right, that's what Buddhists believe. There's a lot of Buddhist philosophy and that kind of Far East thing in the Jedi, and you would think that they would understand that, but they don't. And as Obi-Wan says to Anakin, you did this yourself. All right. So if they are leaving, if there is restructuring and people are losing their jobs, what's the rule? You did that yourself. Okay. That is a big lesson. Okay. It is a hard lesson. And there are a lot of people out there that don't understand it, that don't get it. And they're usually woke millennials who wander around like they're victims, and they're not. Okay? They're not victims at all. They're victims of their own entitled, self-important, nihilistic bullshit. And for too long, they've been able to get away with a lot of crap. And now, Disney, who's in a financial cul-de-sac, has to do something, and restructuring and fixing what's broken at Lucasfilm is one of the things they can do, okay? Make good product that the fans want. Make it so people watch it and get something out of it, okay? The reason why The Mandalorian was so successful is it's not just a simple story. There are themes in it that people can talk about, like you're talking about the sequels or the prequels and the OT. What are the themes? There is a hero's journey here. Let's talk about it. These are universal, eternal themes the human race has always been drawn to. And when you turn it into relevant crap like the High Republic, you're gonna fail. Because look, if you want to do gays in space, do it. It's not Star Wars. Create your own space opera. I've told several people out there who are woke, instead of coming into Star Wars like a bunch of parasites and fucking it up. Sorry for dropping F-bombs. Perhaps you should have tried to do your own thing. I mean, look at the massive amount of independent movies that are doing well. There's a market for stuff like that. There's a market for independent comics. They're kicking the shit out of the establishment. There's a market for independently publishing your own book. Do it that way. Why, oh, why, oh, why? I know why. Because, again, philosophy that they believe in dictates that in order to change everything, you must erase what was already there. Okay? So you erase everything in the OT, the prequels, what Star Wars is about, and insert this bullshit. And it's not working. Because people are smarter than that. Okay, you can't program an American. You can't program anybody really in Western culture because a lot of us have been raised to think critically. Okay, and we think critically. And if you've got a bunch of people who think critically going, this is garbage, and it doesn't have anything to do with the franchise, you're in trouble. Okay? You can't sell the merchandise. No one wants a Ray 6-inch black figure. And if I did get a Kyle Ron, I'd have Jaina Solo. I'd drill a hole in his chest and have Jaina Solo sticking her lightsaber through him. Got to get one of those things that light up. They actually make them for 6-inch figures. They can light up. That'd be really cool. You know, hail Darius Munchausen. You know, I would. Nobody wants a Rose Tico. I basically, you know, sacrificed the 6-inch Black Series Holdo to the volcano gods to stop the pandemic, and it didn't work. You know, she's a virgin. I mean, obviously, you know, not a straight woman, so she's a virgin. You know, so I, you know, did what I could, and she actually disappeared. And there was white smoke. We popped white smoke, so obviously that could signify there's new leadership coming at Lucasfilm. I don't know, but you gotta hope, you know. I did that last year, I think. Yeah, I did, because that was in March when I did that. Anyway, a year ago, March. Anyway, so yeah, so the idea that lessons haven't been learned, in my opinion, is just, you know. Hey, John 42. It's really just amazing to me. So let's talk a little bit about Indy 5. What's going on there is James Mangold basically just told somebody Indiana Jones and the Empire and the Empire of Evil is not the title. That's a fake title. So we don't know what the title is yet. It's just going to be very, you know, that picture of Die Glocke and Mads Mikkelsen in a Wehrmacht uniform are fake, I guess. You know, you just got to sift through things because there's going to be fake, and I honestly think that they're putting a lot of fake stuff out there. I think they're doing a different way of getting people excited about it by putting fake leads, if you know what I mean. So people get excited to see the movie. But it's still going to be very interesting. Again, I can't wait. I really, really can't. This is going to be fun. You know, and again, you know, if you're talking about nihilism, it doesn't have any place in Indy either. I mean, Indy constantly with his preoccupation with facts and scientific method is always discovering there's more out there than is dreamt of in your science, if you know what I mean. There's more to heaven and earth than is dreamt of in your science. And he's constantly getting visited by that. Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, The Last Crusade, Crystal Skull. So there's going to be a supernatural element to this, okay? And it's going to be very, very interesting to see where they go. But and so nihilism doesn't belong there either. Oh, I know. They couldn't have found or cast a better actor to play, if he's the villain or not, for this movie than Mads Mikkelsen. I mean, I love him. He's such a good actor, and he's such a cool guy. I mean, I've seen him interviewed, and he's just cool, you know. But I'm quarter Scandinavian. My mom was half Norwegian, so and her last name was Itri. So it is very kind of cool for me to see that. I'm kind of preoccupied with that ancestry, the Vikings and everything. So when I see him, it's like awesome. And Scandinavians are really beautiful people. They really, really are beautiful people. And that's, I think, in my opinion, they're the most beautiful looking human beings in the world. But then you think, the Irish people and Scots, and you get some pretty good looking of those bloodlines, and you realize that they've got Scandinavian blood. It's true. And that's where it comes from. I mean, the Normans were, I think, descended up from Norwegian Vikings that the French king just basically gave them Normandy so they'd leave him alone. They were everywhere. So it's cool. I'm enjoying this part. But back to nihilism, it can't be part. Oh yeah, they did. They did. They can't be part. It can't. Nihilism can't be part of either franchise. It can't because it doesn't work. Think of who created them, where they came from. George Lucas is not a nihilist. He has told his own kids, you are Methodist and Buddhist. Okay? There you go. It's very interesting to me. You can't deny that in these franchises that it's about bigger things. And they always are. It's about, Indiana Jones is about the adventure, and it actually, there's a lot of historical stuff that gets brought up that people have forgotten. And again, it doesn't help that you've got people in the story group and people out there that want to erase history. Again, a week ago today, I was at the Reading Air World War II fly-in, and there were guys dressed in Waffen SS uniforms. They were cosplaying, and they were the reenactors. And I'm going to say this right now. That is upsetting on a level for me, because I know the history. I studied it. I wrote papers on it. I know what they did in reality. But at another level, it is something that needs to be faced, okay? Because I'm going to say this right now. The people running the story group, the people that shove critical theory down kids' throats, are every bit the same people that ran Germany in the 30s, okay? They are, all right? They are not communists. They are not Maoists, because Hitler did the same thing, Yes, I said the bad word. I said the bad word. They did the same thing. Okay? They did. And they erased history. They created